Google has controlled how search works for over 2 decades. Which pages rank where, how content gets used, what data you can access about your own traffic. All of that has been Google's call. Nobody outside the company got a vote. That just changed. Not everywhere, but in one major market, and the ripple effects are heading your way no matter where you live. In June 2026, the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, the CMA, imposed 3 enforceable conduct requirements on Google. These aren't suggestions. They're not guidelines. They're legal obligations with deadlines, and the CMA has the power to investigate and take enforcement action if Google doesn't comply. The requirements cover 3 areas: how Google uses publisher content and AI features, how it ranks organic search results, and whether users can take their search data somewhere else. Each one matters, and each one will eventually affect website owners worldwide, even though the legal authority is British. Let's break down what's actually happening and what you should do about it. To understand why the CMA can do this, you need a quick piece of backstory. In October 2025, the CMA designated Google as having strategic market status in general search and search advertising. That's a formal finding that Google holds substantial entrenched market power. More than 90% of UK searches happen on Google. This designation didn't mean Google broke any law. It activated a set of powers under the UK's Digital Markets, Competition and Consumers Act of 2024. Once a company gets that designation, the CMA can impose targeted requirements designed to promote fair dealing, open choices, and trust. Google's regular search engine, AI overviews, and AI mode all fall under the designation. The standalone Gemini Assistant doesn't. But there's a catch. The publisher requirement can still regulate how content collected through Google's search crawlers gets used in broader AI services, including Gemini and the Vertex AI API. So even products outside the search designation aren't off the hook. Now let's talk about the 3 requirements, starting with the one that matters most to publishers and content creators. The publisher conduct requirement was imposed on June 3rd. Once it's in force, Google has to give publishers real controls over content that's collected through Googlebot, or any other crawler serving the same search function. Those controls have to cover 2 things: the training of Google's AI and the grounding of AI features like AI overviews and AI mode. Training includes fine-tuning, by the way. The CMA was specific about that. And Google can't get around a publisher's choice by quietly reacquiring the same content through a different source, although there's room for legally obtained open-source datasets. Here's where it gets practical. For grounding, meaning when Google's AI pulls from your content to generate answers, publishers will eventually be able to withhold content at both the directory and individual page levels. That distinction matters. You might want your product pages showing up in AI search answers, because that puts your company in front of buyers. But you might want your premium reporting, subscriber-only articles, or content that depends on page views kept out of AI features entirely. Page-level control lets you make that call per page instead of all or nothing. Beyond opting out, the requirement includes 3 additional protections. First, Google has to provide detailed engagement data: impressions, clicks, and click-through rates, specifically for publisher content used in AI search features. Second, Google has to provide clear attribution and a clear way for users to reach the original source. Third, Google can't penalize you in regular organic search just because you opted out of AI features. If you pull your content from AI overviews, your regular rankings shouldn't suffer for it. Most of this comes into force on December 3rd, 2026. The page-level grounding control has a longer timeline, March 3rd, 2027. But Google has already started building. A subset of UK website owners are testing 2 new Search Console tools right now: a report showing where sites appear in AI search features, and a switch that can remove an entire site from those features. The second requirement is about fair ranking, and it was imposed on June 17th, coming into force on December 17th, 2026. This one applies to organic web, image, and video results shown to people in the UK, including organic results that appear inside AI overviews and AI mode. Paid search results are excluded. Google will have to use objective, non-discriminatory criteria when ranking and presenting those results. Specifically, Google can't rank you differently because you buy Google Ads, because you have some other commercial deal with Google, because you opted out of AI features, or because you exercised a legal right against the company. Google also has to apply the same criteria to its own products and equivalent third-party products. There's a testing exception for new search and AI features, generally capped at 6 months, but only to the extent needed to evaluate the feature. Now, the notice requirements are where this gets interesting for everyday website owners. Google will have to provide advance notice before making a material change to rankings. The CMA defines material changes in 2 tiers. If the change is actionable, meaning you can do something to prepare, Google has to give at least 30 business days notice. If the change is significant and Google can explain it but it's not directly actionable, the minimum is 15 business days. Routine, minor ranking improvements don't qualify. And Google can withhold details that would enable search manipulation or seriously harm legitimate commercial interests, but it has to explain those exclusions to the CMA. The requirement also creates complaint routes. Publishers will be able to submit feedback when a material change might harm the functioning of a UK market. Google has to provide substantive responses to reconsideration requests involving manual actions, and there's an alternative dispute process for publishers who've been manually excluded from the search index. To be clear about what this isn't, it's not a right to appeal every traffic drop or demand your old ranking back. It doesn't freeze rankings, prevent core updates, or force Google to publish its algorithm. But it is more accountability than publishers have today. How much it actually changes things will depend on enforcement. The third requirement is data portability, and it's actually the first one to take effect. September 17, 2026. Google will have to let third parties authorized by signed-in UK users access specified search data, free of charge, through effective portability tools. The idea is to help other businesses build services that users can switch to or use alongside Google Search. Google can comply by extending the Data Portability API it already runs for the European Economic Area to UK users on the same terms. This isn't a general right to export everything from Maps, YouTube, or Gmail. It's scope to search data. But it's still meaningful because it makes it easier for competitors to build on the data that users have generated inside Google's search ecosystem. Now let's talk about what Google is already building, because this part might affect your workflow right now. Google has launched generative AI performance reports in Search Console alongside these CMA announcements. They're rolling out to a subset of websites for testing, and they separate AI visibility from the standard Search Console performance view. The search report shows impressions in AI overviews and AI mode. A separate Discover report covers AI features there. You can inspect which pages appeared and break the data down by country, device, and date. But there's a significant gap. Clicks and click-through rates are missing from the initial version. An impression tells you that Google displayed a link to your site inside an AI feature. It doesn't tell you how many people actually clicked, how much traffic the feature delivered, or whether that traffic converted. Without click data, you're seeing half the picture. The CMA's publisher requirement calls for impressions, clicks, and click-through rates to be separated from other search activity. What Google has launched is a start, but it's not the finished compliance system. Google has also added a site-wide opt-out switch. Participating website owners can remove their entire site from AI overviews, AI mode, and AI overviews in Discover. If you opt out, you stop receiving traffic and impressions from those features, but stay in regular Google search and the standard Discover feed. Google says the opt-out won't be used as a ranking signal outside AI features. The CMA requirement goes further. It actively prohibits Google from downranking opted-out content in regular search. But the current switch is site-wide, not page-level, and it doesn't cover Gemini. The final system still has to satisfy the CMA's wider requirements. So should you opt out? That's the question a lot of website owners are asking right now. And the honest answer is, it depends on how each page on your site creates value. If you sell products or services, AI visibility might help. When your company gets cited or mentioned in an AI answer, that creates awareness, even if the user doesn't click through immediately. Opting out removes that exposure along with any traffic the feature might send. If your revenue depends on page views, advertising, affiliate commissions, subscriptions, the trade-off is rougher. Publishers funded by traffic need users to visit the original page. When Google answers the query itself, a source attribution at the bottom may not replace the lost session. Two major studies illustrate why publishers are cautious. Ahrefs analyzed 300,000 informational keywords and found that, as of December 2025, AI overviews correlated with a 58% lower click-through rate for the top-ranking page. And Pew Research Center studied browsing behavior from 900 US adults and found that users clicked a traditional result 8% of the time when an AI summary appeared, compared with 15% when no summary was present. Those numbers don't predict what'll happen on every site. They cover different samples, different methods, and commercial searches may behave differently from informational queries. Your business model and your own page-level data matter more than an industry average. For most websites with a mix of content types, the smart move right now is to resist treating the current toggle as urgent. Record your AI impressions if you have access to the new report. Preserve your traffic baseline. Map your pages by how they generate value. Which ones need clicks? Which ones benefit from exposure? When click reporting and page-level controls arrive, you'll be able to make a much sharper decision than the current all-or-nothing switch allows. Now, if you're outside the UK, you might be wondering whether any of this applies to you. The legal requirements are tied to UK search activity and outputs shown to people in the UK. A business in the US, Canada, or anywhere else doesn't automatically get the same legal protections for searches outside Britain. But the product impact goes further than the legal jurisdiction. Google has said the new Search Console AI reports and opt-out control will roll out globally after the UK test. So you may get the tools without getting every legal protection or enforcement route the CMA created. A global interface isn't the same as a global legal right. You'll be able to see your AI impressions and flip the opt-out switch, but you won't have a regulator standing behind those tools ensuring Google plays fair with your rankings if you use them. So what should you do right now? Start by checking Search Console for the new generative AI reports and opt-out control. If they aren't showing up, your property probably isn't in the current test yet. Google says access will expand over time. Whether you have access or not, save your baseline data now. Record organic traffic, conversions, revenue, rankings, and Search Console impressions for the pages that matter most to your business. The AI impression report becomes far more useful when you can compare it against what your numbers looked like before it arrived. From there, classify your content by economic purpose. Separate product and service pages from ad-supported articles, subscriber material, original research, and support documentation. That map is what you'll use when directory-level and page-level controls become available to your property. And keep watching the CMA and Google announcements. The tools, reporting, attribution rules, and complaint processes will develop across several deadlines through early 2027. Don't assume what you see today is the finished system. Here's the bottom line. The CMA hasn't taken over Google's algorithm, and it hasn't promised publishers more traffic. What it's done is set enforceable boundaries, limits on discrimination, required notice for defined ranking changes, a separation between AI participation and regular search, and a demand for better data about how publisher content performs inside AI features. Google's first tools don't close every gap. The report lacks click data, the opt-out is site-wide, and the switch doesn't cover every AI use the CMA addresses. Those gaps are what the deadlines are designed to close. For website owners who have access to these new tools, the immediate win is visibility. Check the report, save your baseline, and understand which pages need traffic versus which ones benefit from AI exposure. The decision to stay in or opt out should follow the economics of your content, not a reflex in either direction. Here's what we want to know from you. If you had the opt-out switch right now, would you pull your site out of Google's AI features? Or would you stay in and ride it out? Drop your answer in the comments. We read every one of them. This was based on an article from our blog. You can find the full written article on Tech Help Canada, including sources and visuals. If you found this helpful, you can explore more on our website and subscribe or become a member for updates and perks. If you're watching or listening to this on YouTube, Apple Podcast, or another platform, don't forget to like and subscribe to help us keep bringing you valuable content like this.